Hello and welcome to the Business of Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Eric Rosenberg. Over the years, I've had the privilege of helping businesses in the meetings and event industry grow and succeed. And I'm excited to share that experience with you. If you feel alone and overwhelmed, and if you're looking to take your business to the next level, improve your strategy and sales, and connect with like-minded professionals, you are in the right place. I invite you to visit eventbusinessformula.com and join our community of event business owners dedicated to exponential growth. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meetings podcast. Today, I am delighted to speak with yet another entrepreneur in our industry. She founded a company called the Bon Soir, which is a boutique events firm, and she's bringing investors and startup together with very high touch small events. She's based in the Bay Area in San Francisco, where all the tech is based. They're now moving to South Florida as well, where I live, but okay. And she's hosting the Super Club over there and bringing in small private dinners, funds, people investing. It's a wonderful niche, and we're going to discover her journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Megan Gross. Megan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Me too. And I was reading your bio and the tech. They just announced that Palantir, after moving to Denver, was actually moving to Miami. So you're going to be able to expand your business with your clients, I suppose.
Yes, I actually love Miami for another tech hub. I've done quite a few events out there too. So it's
wonderful.
It's definitely coming. Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about it. And as I always like to ask my guest, what is your journey and how did you join the meetings and events industry?
Yeah, so I bet this is very similar in your community, but like it just happened. I didn't look for it. My journey started because I wanted to party.
Okay.
I graduated college and I was like, I want to go have fun. And I moved to Vegas, literally to go have fun, to party, and to like figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it was there I started working in nightlife and nightclubs, and it was there that I would like watch the marketing team, those were who were programming the clubs and the restaurants and the pool parties. And they would be coming in with the celebrities and dining and wining them, or wining and dining them, and then putting on these fantastic shows. And I was like, oh my God, that's a job. I want that job. And I literally just started showing up like to their department. I was like, hey, I will do anything. Put me to work. I stuffed CDs. I blew up like floaties. Like we didn't even have a pump. I was just happy to be involved. And you show up enough and they start giving you more responsibilities and tasks. And that's how I kind of fell into my career of events. By the end of my 4 years in Vegas, I was running the programming of 4 nightclubs, 2 restaurants, and a pool, a very rowdy pool party.
Whoa.
And it was like my dream job. But I was also coming home at 4 a.m. in the morning, and it's fun in your 20s. But then as I got later in my 20s, I was like, am I going to be the person in the club for the rest of my life? And so I made the tough decision to kind of leave all that and to kind of follow another passion of mine, which was to live in Paris. Hence the name, the Bon Soir. It came from that in Paris, although I did not speak French, which made getting a job quite difficult. I ended up getting, though, a job. I got one working for an exclusive club that still is there today called Matillon. And
What's the name of the club?
It's called Matillon.
Matthian. Okay.
Matin. It's so near the Champs-Elysees. It's super high end. It's like, it's very bagatelle style. So it's a restaurant and below is a boutique club. And they hired me as their like VIP host, basically like this American blonde girl in Paris. And I would go around and I would welcome the guests as they would come in. And I would say, bonsoir, bonsoir. And it's just like this beautiful, like, elegant greeting that I think transfers into the work that I do. And people would reply to me back in French, and I'd be like, that's all I know. So I did that for a while, and then I realized I don't want to be in nightlife for the rest of my life. Why am I doing that in Paris after I left that in Vegas? So
Right.
I moved, and also it was really difficult to, with my lack of French and visa. I was there illegally. So that was another issue. I moved to the Bay Area, which actually is, I don't know if you're familiar with this, it's also nicknamed the Paris of the West. So
Oh, I had no idea.
I say that I'm chasing Paris. And I have been here since. It's been about 12 years. I've been in the Bay Area. When I first moved here, no one knew what to do with me. They were like, you've worked with P. Diddy. Like, what do we do with you? That doesn't translate to tech. And I was like, yeah, but I can deal with high profile kind of divas. How does that not translate to tech?
Right.
Yeah, they did not appreciate that.
Truth hurts.
Truth hurts. I think it's a bit different because of the tech is more, it's more bullish here, and people are more kind of like with AI and aggressive and being more bold with their moves. So I've been assimilating a bit easier with kind of my brand and what I bring, which is this high touch, kind of pushes the edges a bit. But I ended up working for a startup here in the Bay Area, and we were a platform of extraordinary experiences. We did have a bit of a rap that was make a wish for rich people because our experiences were very high end. It was like $35,000 and you can go and meet the Rolling Stones. And very interestingly is it would be the same people over and over again meeting the Rolling Stones. On their tour. Yeah. But I love that job. I got to curate some really incredible, not just like celebrity stuff, like very niche, exclusive wineries, pretty epic things. We got acquired by MasterCard. So I went on to MasterCard for their Priceless Cities. It's a platform. And it was there that I realized I really do not fit in well in corporate. Shocking. But lasted 3 years, though. That was a good 3 years because it was over the pandemic. And so pandemic hit everyone in the events industry quite hard. I did have that kind of safety net with them because we moved virtual. And then as soon as things came back to life, I decided to venture off on my own, and I created the Bon Soir. And then because of my proximity of where I am in the startup kind of hub, I started working with a lot of founders. Most of my friends are founders. Everybody's building something here. And then over the past couple of years, it's been more on the investor side.
I'm listening to you. I'm fascinating because basically you're doing what you want and what you like, which is awesome. And I
Yeah.
think that many entrepreneurs can relate to that.
Yeah.
But take me back to the moment when you say, okay, enough of the nightlife in Vegas.
Mm,
I'm going to Paris. Not everyone would just say, oh, okay, I'm going to go and work to Paris. So, what triggered that? And what was going in your mind at that moment
mhm.
in terms of entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I think this is a rare gift of mine that I take really big risks. And I think I do it in a kind of a fearless way. Like, I don't have it all figured out. I'm just going to make the jump. And it kind of seems like it's irrational to that my family is like, oh God, here she goes again. But there's something in my soul that is like, this is what you are destined to do, and you will make it work. And I think of my Paris story as actually like and I mean this in a lovingly way to myself, but it was a failed dream. Like, I thought my dream was to live and create a life in Paris. And I gave it my everything and it didn't work out. So it's kind of like a failed dream, but then it redirected me to San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I've been for the past 12 years. And I found kind of my niche and what I want to be doing as well.
I love the story about Paris. I'm not sure I would use the word failed dream. It's one of the things when you read those stories about people that are at the end of their life, the regrets that they can have, and basically you give it all, so you have no regrets. It didn't work. It worked out the way you expected, but that to me is another threat of being an entrepreneur because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I know a thing or two about nightclubs, and I basically knew all the doormen of the main nightclub in Brussels by their first name. So, and there's a moment when I start my business, and one of my friend who was one of the doormen one day saw me. He said, "What happened to you? We don't see you anymore. You have a girlfriend?" I say, "No, I just started my business. I don't have time." So, how do you transition from basically working and during the night to moving to San Francisco and now getting in every morning? You have to hustle, you have to go and look at the client. How was the transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think it the transition came a bit with the phase of life. Like in my 20s, and early 30s, it was more of wanting to be in the mix. And I'm okay with coming home past two. And I just love the liveliness. And now it's like a bit more health conscious of I need to get up early, I need to talk to more clients, I need to come off a bit more professional. And sleep is so important to all of that. So I think those happen succinctly, but I am so grateful that I used to be very lively in my 20s and early 30s because it really gave me the interpersonal skills that I
Mm.
use today. Just like you had said, you knew all the names of the door guys at the clubs. Like that's something you don't learn in corporate or business. Those are the skills that now, especially where like AI is going to everything so digital, like you're not taught, but like when you have that's a soft skill. That's like a Wall Street skill. And I really lean into those types of skills now.
Very interesting. And I fully agree with you. I also work at the Club Med one summer, very
Mm.
hard. And you learn to smile all the time, to have a service minded way of working. You go back to San Francisco, so obviously all the tech and everything. Did you miss anything for your business besides the fact that you know how to relate to people, engage with people? Is there anything that in retrospect, you said, I wish I would have known this part or this? What are the skills that you were missing at that time?
Yeah. So when I first launched my business, because I didn't come from corporate or I didn't come from an agency, I had no idea what I was doing. I would have the clients, and I'm like, I literally don't know how to put this together for them because I don't really have the framework of like how an agency takes it from like conception and like writing a proposal and like how to price all of this to I knew how to do it though. And so I did miss out on that, but actually I now look back and I think that's a gift because I've been able to now figure out how to do all that without these kind of frameworks that have maybe have put me a bit more in a box,
Mm.
where I think of a good example is like when I get vendors, I'm getting vendors from my network that like are from the wildest ways. They're not coming from like the venue because I don't know that like that's not maybe my style. The set designer for a large event I did in Miami, she came from I met her in Madrid 12 years ago, and now she's in Miami doing interior design and she designs yachts. And that's who did the stage design for a VC summit that I put on. And so it was a hindering at first, but I pushed through that and now I see it as a strength.
That's amazing. You're talking about you don't fit in the box. in the parallel to that, I think we both agree that you don't grow a business, you don't manage a business if you don't have a minimum of systems, of
Yeah.
processes, frameworks. I know you have two framework that you love to use, and I was reading about it. I thought that's really interesting. Do you mind taking us briefly into each of them?
Yes. And I do agree with you. I think frameworks and systems are the utmost important, and especially in events. And that as I've matured, that I've been able to become up and look back and like connect these dots. So a simple framework that I talk about a lot because I think it's easier for its grasp is the purpose, people, and the process. So like a Zen diagram, and you think of the three different circles and where they interconnect is how connection is engineered. And I use this framework when I develop all events. Purpose, what's the goal? Why are we getting together? And this is actually where I see a lot of people kind of miss. They're like, oh, for example, in the Bay Area, we're going to do a founders and funders of dinner. Oh, a founders and funders in what? Like, what's the vertical? And because if I'm an investor in SaaS, is it going to be of interest that I have a bunch of creative founders? Probably not. And so the goal is missed. And so the purpose is very important to have it very specific and nitty gritty. Then the next kind of circle is the people. And this is the number one thing to get right in an event. Like,
Mhm.
who is going to be in that room in order to drive that purpose, and who doesn't. So I'm a big no plus ones, no friends and family. Everybody has a purpose for being there. And if they do not fit, then they are not welcome. And I mean that in a lovingly way to those that are there and showing up. And I think it was like Obama's aunt who said, if everyone's family, no one's family. It's that same kind of thought behind that is it needs to be specific. And then the process. And these are all the details that go into building of the event. So the venue, also very important. I just talked about the seating chart. Like if you're having a dinner, no matter what, you should always have a seating chart.
Mm.
It's not just exclusive for weddings because it really does change the dynamic of the conversations and how people connect. And it doesn't leave things to chance. The invitation process, like how are you reaching out to people prior to the event? Are you spamming them with, a blast, like come to this, or are you writing something personal and thoughtful? That really sets the tone as
Mm.
people are going into this event. And then, all the way to afterwards. How are you following up? Is it again personal? Or you're just saying, thanks for coming, see you at the next one? Really putting some thought and thinking about all the little details that build, they're like added touch points and they build up and they compound. And this is how we connect. And so the intersection of all those three different circles, purpose, people, process, that's connection. And it can be engineered if you follow this framework.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love it. I will always say to people I work with, and that's how we differentiate ourselves when I had my corporate event agency, is go and try to understand the industry that your client is in. Go and try to understand what they're trying to achieve, to your point, who's coming, and also how they're using the face-to-face event in their whole strategy and the execution
Yeah.
of it.
Yes, 100%. And that's another to that point. I think people look at events as the outcome, like that's what we're going for, but it's part of this other mission. Event is just the vehicle to get you to this other goal. And so when you think of it more as like the holistic journey of it versus like the checking the box, you get the full effect out of an event.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another framework that you like. It's the gather method.
Yes. Yeah. So when I have more time, I bring this one up. And so Gather, it's an acronym and it's guest list, atmosphere, timing, high touch, end game, and relationships. And so, guests, as we talked about that's the people. It's literally the most important part of an event is who's going to be in that room. Atmosphere, of course, is the venue or the space. And I really encourage people to invest in that. Like, don't be cheap here. It really pays off when you have a beautiful space that when you walk in, you're like, wow, versus like an office with bad lighting and you're trying to like save money and like getting trays of food from Costco. It sets a tone and it will change how people interact. Timing, I think, is a subtle thing that makes a big difference. And so, like with dinners, how you're going to pace out the courses to allow people to have that kind of white space to connect in between. It's very important for content format. What I see a lot is people over programming their events. Like you have back to back speakers and content and all these things. And people want to also meet people, and you're not leaving the white space in between that. So timing is very effective for allowing people to connect when it's done in that thoughtful way. High touch. I mean, everything I do is high touch. I think you appreciate that too. And I'm actually quite low tech, which is interesting because I'm like in the high tech. But yeah, I keep it really simple, low tech, because they should only be focused on relationships. And relationships, you can't really leverage tech. It's like, maybe you can one day, but I see it kind of taking away. So I'm pretty low tech and high touch. End game, that goes back to the goal, which I explained earlier. And then relationships, like that's what we're here for. That's what the ultimate goal is, to build relationships. And the event is the strategy to get you there.
And to your point, the high touch, the relationship part, uh, that is something that people will always buy from people,
Yes.
whatever the technology. Now, you're talking about, and I can visualize the type of event that you're mentioning, and also the relationship part, the conversation part. To have a high touch event, what is the ideal size? Because can you do a high touch event with 1,000 people in the room?
Yes, because this is a good question. So, no, I think it's my perfect event is under 20 people. So, I suggest doing smaller events and more of them. So, series. So, my favorite format and it's what I'm known for are my supper series or my dinner series. And I love a dinner under 20 because it gives you almost you'll have a pretty deepened relationship with maybe less than half, but you'll still get an opportunity to meet everyone to some degree. And then for the ones that you don't have that deepened relationship, you might have another opportunity at the next event. And so micro events, I'm sure you're seeing the shift in this market of you used to be big and massive. And I come from big and massive Vegas
Mhm.
nightclubs, mega clubs, and festivals. And we used to love that. But I think people really want highly curated, highly personalized, and you just can't do that at scale. And a good analogy that I have is like, look at the Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs are 1% of the Navy. It's small. And because of its smallness, it's, this special. They are this unique kind of segment. All of the Navy is obviously important, but like that is small is special. And so to keep the events in that kind of container, I think mimics the same kind of strategy.
Interesting. I'm listening to you. I agree with everything you said. I actually have a friend, Jason Gaignard, who wrote this book, Mastermind Dinners, that goes exactly in
Mm.
what you're describing. Question I have now for you, the entrepreneur, the business owner of the Bon Soir. How do you scale your business? And how do you make sure that the business doesn't only depend on you and that you can grow it?
Oh my gosh. This has been the hardest part of my business. has been this past year. It's funny. I keep thinking about this a lot. And it's not as hard. I think getting off the ground is hard when you're figuring out how to scale. And it's really hard when you're doing micro events too, because the profit margin is in the larger events. But I have developed a way to kind of productize my dinner series. Like, I know the format that works the best because I've done it 100 times. And so the more that I can productize that, put it in almost a package, but have it personalized to the guest and the outcome. But it is in a way of a system that I've developed from doing these again. Keeps that consistency and that allows to scale. And then this past year, I have finally hired, I not only have a EA and event coordinator, I have a lead event operations and stepping away from the production, which has been the hardest for me because I'm
That was my
sure
next
you know.
question. Yes.
Oh, it's like breaking my heart to step away from that. But in order for me to run this business and make it grow, it's a trade-off. So
Kudos to you. That I remember the first 2 years of my corporate event agency, and I had major client, and it was like, it's not, those are my client. Nobody's gonna touch it. Nobody does it better. They're not gonna stay if it's not me. Which of course it's all BS at the end of the day. The only thing that is not is that you're driving 150 miles an hour into a wall because you're gonna burn out. And then you realize, hiring people, that as long as you maintain the relationship with the client and you put the processes in place and you make sure that you train the people, that is exactly how you start scaling your business. So congrats to you. I can clearly feel, what's going on in the mind and in the guts when the first time it's not necessarily you in front of the client.
yeah. Oh, it's like heartbreaking almost. Yeah. It's scary. But now, and it's having to retrain them to, reach out to the new team that's supporting. But now I've gotten to the point they're like, well, they love my event lead so much. And I'm not going to be doing this one event next year because it's just not the direction I'm going with my business. And they're like, well, congratulations coming up. She's even better at operations than I am. I'm actually not great at operations.
Mhm.
I'm logistics, my head, it's hard for my brain to wrap around. And she's excellent and she loves it. And that comes off to the client too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. I'd like to end our conversation today with one question that I'm really, how do I say this? You're working in the Bay Area and Miami and other cities, but with tech companies. So everybody's like AI, AI, AI. Do you think, I have my own opinion on that, but do you think that AI is going to replace in-person event?
Oh, no. If anything, it's driving in person, the importance of in person more because with the AI, we're having a hard time seeing what's real and what's not real. So I think like the pendulum swing, as we're going kind of moving things more automated, more scale, more AI, there will be the swing to the opposite, which is slow, small, in person, high touch, low tech. So I actually think it will drive the other direction. And I'm curious what you think now that you've asked.
I am 150% convinced that the more people will use AI, the more they will want to come in person.
Yeah. Yeah.
One, for the reason you mentioned about, is this real? Is it a real person? And negotiation, seeing the people. And second, the human species
Yeah.
needs the community part, needs to come in person. We've seen it during the pandemic. And so I'm actually quite excited with AI. Please do use AI and then come in person.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's funny. We sometimes implement rules at the dinner table where you can't say the word AI and we will have AI founders there. And it's like super hard. I usually get broken about 5 times. But it's
You should have some sort of pot in the middle. Every time you say the AI word, you put $100
Oh.
in there.
Oh, I like
Mhm.
that. It'll have to be Venmo because, nobody has cash anymore.
That's true. That's true. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Megan, my two last questions for today. The
Mm.
first one, how can people get in touch with you?
I post a lot on LinkedIn. My handle on LinkedIn is Curate with Megan, Megan. And then my website is the Bon Soir, TheBonSoir.com. And those are the best resources to get in touch. And I post some spicy things on LinkedIn. So if people are there, I encourage that.
Wonderful. And my last question is when we meet in a year from now with a bottle of champagne, what are we going to celebrate?
Oh, we're going to celebrate the how event I think events have always kind of been this like side for people and businesses. It's like part of a larger campaign, and I think it as we shift in this direction with AI, the more and more appreciation for really well thoughtful curated events are just going to shine, and we're going to like celebrate that because that I'm just super excited about events having bigger moments in the next year.
Love it. Megan Gross de Bonsoir, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in person one day in the future.
Thank you, Eric. This was such a great conversation. Appreciate this.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business of Meeting podcast. I hope you found today's episode valuable. If you enjoyed the show, the most important thing you can do is leave a review and share it with your colleagues. It really helps spread the word. I truly appreciate your support. And if you're ready to take your business to the next level, don't forget to visit eventbusinessformula.com to learn more about how we are helping even business owners like you. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.